Hey lovelies, welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my study abroad in India video Shamble situation. I'm extremely exhausted because teacher with 2 jobs, also preparing for Islam and trying to stay alive under the guise of capitalism and the patriarchy. So if you're getting that from me, it's because but it's okay because at a few different points in my trip to India, I was also exhausted as the fuck. But basically, if this is your first time coming in contact with me, I studied abroad in India when I was 19. My first part of this video was basically explaining the geography and the vibes of each city we were in. And this part is more so about the emotional and mental state that I was kind of in throughout that trip. And so we will start at shit state, which my very racist hick college or university. So I was 19. I've been calling 19 my depression year forever. Not because it was the only year that I was depressed, but because it was the year that I was the most depressed, I feel like. So yeah, right now it's probably between 19 and 24. And I was just absolutely fucking spiraling, you guys. Like, for the backstory, that's really what you need to know. I was absolutely spiraling. I wasn't going to class because I was depressed, and I would only go to meetings with my poetry club. And I had no motivation. I had no motivation for class. I had no motivation to get good grades. I was just so fucking sad and miserable. And I just felt like, why did I come here? Why is this so hard? Why don't I understand a lot of the material in school? And so I was basically on my way to dropping out. Like, that is the mindset that I was in. And then I remember I got an email randomly. Like, I think I was even looking for something else, and I saw this email from the head of the study abroad office, or like one of their important people, talking about studying abroad in India. And it just felt like, oh my God, the ancestors sent this to me. Because I had always been obsessed with the Cheetah Girls, and when I saw Cheetah Girls One World, I was like, oh my God, India is the most beautiful place on earth. Like, just the architecture, the fabrics and fashion, it was just so beautiful to me, the jewelry. And so I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? So basically, I had to take a class, and the class was in the spring semester. So in the summer semester, we would travel to India. And so I went through my class. I was the only Black girl in the class. There were 2 girls of Asian descent, and then everyone else was white. And I was also the youngest in the class. So I was 19. Everybody else was probably, I'm pretty sure everyone else was like drinking age. Everyone was at least 21, I believe. And so, the class was interesting, being the only Black girl, but I just like either drastically stayed to myself or really showed up and showed out and answered all the questions. Like, I was either doing nothing or doing everything. I didn't really feel close necessarily to any of the girls from class. Like, I was just trying to get through the class so that I could go to India. And I remember my final project, my topic was architecture. Y'all, I was so depressed, I didn't even finish it. I literally could not finish it. And it was such a mess. It was probably one of the most awful papers I've ever written. And I remember my teacher, my professor at the time, calling me in for a meeting and being like, girl, what is this? Like, half of the stuff I know you did not come up with on your own. It was just choppy and shitty and awful. And I basically told her, like, I'm a fucking wreck right now. And so I think she ended up giving me like a C or something. It was enough for me to go to India. So that's what we're starting from. I was going down a toilet bowl. And so then financially, this was another thing. I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. I didn't know how study abroad worked. I thought that because you were in school, they pay for everything. No. So I was on a full scholarship, and my multicultural advisor at the time, which sounds like a great thing that my school did, no, it wasn't enough. And he disappeared right after my trip to India, never to be heard from again, didn't know he was leaving. But at the time, he told me, like, okay, if you really want to do this, you can take out a loan that will automatically refund to you because you already have all of your costs of school covered. So that's what I did. It's the only loan that I had to take out for school, but obviously it keeps, like, interest or whatever the fuck, because my father was supposed to pay it, and different story for a different day. So I took out a loan, got the refund. I was able to get my own passport. I was able to pay for my tickets, which was like $1,000. And then I worked at the mall back home for spending money. And so, yes, that's where we started before we got to the actual flight and everything. And so the day I left, I remember feeling buzzy. Like, I was undiagnosed, unmedicated, and depressed as fuck. So, like, feelings weren't really a thing that was happening for me. But I do just remember being like, this is a very amazing and new journey, and I have no idea what's going to happen, but that's exciting. Also, me and my mom weren't, like, super close at the time, and she was dropping me off with my little sisters and my best friend, and I was just like, wonderful. I'm getting out of this country. I get to be alone and do new, exciting things. And so that was really how I was feeling on the way there. When we got there, there was a lot of mixed emotions. So in my class, they had told us that, like, we were going to be treated differently because, you know, India is not necessarily like a tourist country or like a place where they are used to a lot of Americans being there. And so as a gaggle of mostly white women, we stood out very much so. And an interesting part of that was that it was obviously all of the white people's first time being a minority. And they didn't handle that well. So a lot of times what would happen is that people would want to take pictures of us or with us. And the white girl just thought that it was so weird and, like, rude and strange. But I'm like, I get treated weird as fuck in America. Like, white people will reach out and try to touch my hair like I am a zoo animal on a regular day in my country where I was born. So it was just very hilarious, like, to see them reacting in real time to being a minority for the first time ever. That was probably one of the biggest things. And as the only Black one, it was, like, even more so for me, because now I'm a minority within a minority group. I also had a short pink afro. And so people were often staring, pointing, yapping. At some point, I think it was at the Red Fort, which you should know what that is if you watched the first part. Because we had been to all these different temples and all of these different either holy places or places that have been, like, preserved as monuments of India from, like, famous battles that they've had. And so we were at the Red Fort, and I believe that was the one where because all of them have security. So the security had started to tap on my head, like while she was searching me or whatever, and I had on a visor. And she just tapped on my head and she said something, but obviously I didn't understand her. And so I asked one of our guys, I was like, what was she saying? And she thought that my hair was a hat. Like she thought that the fluffy hair on top of my head was connected to my visor and that it was one occurrence. And so she was tapping on my head. And so obviously, like, this didn't really bother me much because, like I said, I get treated fucking weird in America. But y'all should see the way the white women were trying to be offended for me. Not necessarily, or not specifically in that instance, but like when people were trying to take pictures of me or with me, I'm just like, okay, yeah, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like, I just didn't care. I was 19. I didn't care. If I went over there now, I'd be like, yeah, no, thank you. But I was 19. I didn't give a fuck. I was barely in my body. So I was just like, whatever, sure. And they're like, no, Mari, you don't have to take pictures with them. And I'm like, bro, like, I don't think that it's any ill intent. It's just fascination. When I'm an American, white people touch my hair, it gives me slavery trauma. So like, you see, like 6'7". So yeah, that was also really interesting. At one point, I got very, very homesick. And I just remember like crying, calling my boyfriend at the time on Google Hangouts, and just being like, it's really hard because everything is so different. And it was my first time like not smoking weed for such a long time since I had started at like 17, because obviously it's very illegal there. Okay, so I know this just got very close and personal, but I'm editing and I forgot to say that that's why if you watched part 1, which you should have, that's why when my roommate and I had found a weed plant, we were so excited to like turn the leaves into something, and we made tea. And I just remember that night we were also like drinking as like a group. And then we had also made our weed leaf tea, and you know, everyone went to sleep, whatever. And the next day we were supposed to be driving back down the mountain, which took a very, very long time. Shamble is just mountain and mountain and mountain and mountain. And I remember my roommate being like, hey, Amari, how you feeling? And I'm just like, girl, sit down. Like, sit down. You're going to get us arrested. But it was really nice going back down the mountain and feeling like, ooh, calm. Especially because I had been feeling so homesick and so, like, lonely. So, yeah. So, like, I had nothing to regulate my emotions. Like I said, I wasn't diagnosed. I wasn't medicated. And I wasn't smoking, which is normally, like, a coping mechanism if I'm having a neurodivergent moment. And so, yeah, it really just got to a point where it was quite difficult. But I think that my favorite part and the best part for me, well, the best part for me emotionally was probably Shimla. The best part for me as it goes to my Cheetah Girls One World fantasy was definitely Delhi, because y'all, I had a whole crush. If you know me, you know this is not surprising at all. I love beautiful people. This is probably the most tea of the trip, but I developed a crush on a very handsome young man who was like 3 years older than me. So I was probably like, it was probably bullshit to begin with. Also, like, this man lives in a whole different country, right? But in my head, I was Kelly Williams in Cheetah Girls One World, okay? I was like, I'm coming to India to meet my husband. My husband is Indian. No wonder I'm so fucking depressed in fuck-ass America, because my husband is here. Y'all, we were so close, and we had such a cute friendship, and it was really, really cool. And yeah, I was just like low-key obsessed and like wanted to sit next to him during everything. And he was just so cute. And like, this isn't like my present, obviously, emotion. It's just me thinking of me at 19 and just like how adorable I thought that he was and how adorable it was that I had a crush on him. Oh my God. Literally the last day we matched by mistake, or at least It felt like by mistake, but also he definitely knew what color I was wearing because they took us sari shopping. Saris are the traditional garb or wear that you see Indian women wear a lot of times for celebration. It has like an underskirt and then a very long piece of fabric that you kind of wrap around your hips and then up onto your shoulders. And we were having a celebration because if you watched the first part, you know that I stayed in Delhi for the longest. So we were there for 2 weeks. We built bonds. We had great friendships. And so they took us to, or they had a celebration for us at the end. And child, by this point, we had gone sari shopping. Like it gave very much like New York Fashion District. But in India, we went to a bunch of sari shops. I had a freaking panic attack in a sari shop because by that point we had been there for almost 2 weeks, and like the idea of, oh well, all the white women, like it's easy for them to find clothes and it's easy for them to find something that makes them feel beautiful. Like it felt like everyone was finding something except for me. Like nothing really felt good size wise, nothing really felt good design wise, and I felt like everyone else was finding something amazing, and like, you know, the guys and the girls, like everyone was like, oh my gosh, y'all look so beautiful, and I couldn't find anything. So I had a fucking panic attack in a sari shop in the middle of Delhi. And yeah, I ended up picking this gorgeous yellow sari. Images. And yeah, my crush ended up wearing a yellow, hold on, I know what it's called, wait, it starts with a K. Kurti. One of those, I believe. I could be fucking wrong. Y'all, it's been years. But yeah, I was smitten. Hi, I'm interrupting myself again to finish the thought that I never completed because I started talking about my panic attack. So the last day we had our final celebration, and this was the part where it gave me my Cheetah Girls One World fantasy. So we went to throw away our garbage, and he asked me to go on a walk. Child, I'm going on a walk in a foreign country. I was not afraid at all. Ignore whatever the fuck is in my eyes. I just woke up. I wasn't afraid at all. I was like, oh, okay, boom. Like, in my head, he was going to kiss me. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And we're just going on a walk, talking about our life, whatever. And then one of my other friends ran out and was like, you guys, they're looking for you. We're about to take pictures. Embarrassing, okay? First of all, I'm the only black one. So imagine me walking back in with this man, teachers, our God, everybody just looking at us like, what the fuck were these two doing? And I'm the only black one. Like, it just, it fucked me up because I'm just like, I probably look like a slut whore. Like, but, you know, I was trying to get my study abroad kiss romance going on. And also, I remember at one point he told me that he had a motorcycle back in his home, like in his part of India where he lived, because he was far, like he went far from his home to go to school. So I think he was more in a southern part of India and we were in the northern part. And I was just like, oh my goodness, if this motorcycle was here, I would have been on the back of the fucking motorcycle, okay? Okay? I've been like, go ahead, take me. Wherever we going, I'm following you. Y'all see how the fantasy was like right there? Like I was right here. And the fantasy was right here. Okay, I just validate me. And then I found out that he had a crush on my roommate, who was a very, very small, very, very pale, blonde white woman with blue eyes. I think she had blue eyes, blue or gray or something like that. And so if you haven't understood by now, my fucking self-esteem was in the toilet, okay? I was already depressed, and then just more because I was the only black one, and there was just a lot that no one else around me could understand. Like, at some point, I remember explaining to my friends in Delhi what slavery, like, did to the community and, like, why my America is not the same thing as my counterparts' America. Just very, very interesting. But yeah, we had a ball, and I remember at the celebration just seeing everyone dancing and so full of joy. I remember thinking like, wow, I wish boys were like this in America. Like, they dance with each other, they hug each other, they love each other. And you could just tell that like protecting their sexuality is not like such a big thing over there. They're good at showing affection to other men. So yeah, everybody was just dancing and being joyful. I hope I can find the videos to put them in here for y'all. Listen, I had an Android. Don't judge me. It's about the memories. What else? Oh, this is also some more tea. So I think that like the beginning of my awakening of realizing that I liked women was partially in India. Follow me. So obviously I couldn't like outside, like outwardly, right? Because they would fucking behead me. But there were two girls. I want to say their names, but then I don't. There were two girls that I feel like were like piquing my awakening, but I didn't really know what was happening. I just loved their energy. And like I was attracted to them, but I didn't know I was attracted to them, you know? So there was one that was more feminine that was like my friend, and I loved her, and she had a really, really cute nickname that is also an American food. And then there was one that was more masculine presenting that just like showed me the best music and was just so hype and so cute. And I just feel like if she ever came to America, she would be whatever an Indian stud is. Because like I know, and you should know, that stud is a term used in closed community. Only Black people can be studs. I don't know if you knew, but now you know. And yeah, oh my gosh, I just loved all my friends, especially in Delhi. Like I feel like we actually got close, and it was so cool and so fucking amazing, and like just vibes, good vibes, good vibes, good vibes. I told y'all I didn't fuck with Chandigarh. Humans of Chandigarh, yes. Chandigarh as a whole, no. Amritsar. Oh, a lady came up to one of our guides and asked if I was married because she thought that I looked like a princess or something like that, or like a rich person. And I assumed that it was because of my skin. But also, that was really interesting because, like I said, I had been feeling like fucking shit for most of the trip, like at least as far as about myself. So that was really interesting. I was like, wow, she assumed that I was married. Like, I'm 19. Like, but she said that I was so beautiful. She thought that I was married. So that was cool. Y'all know I love the Golden Temple. And then Shimla, I feel like Shimla was where my spiritual awakening started. And so when I first thought about creating this video, this part is the reason why I wanted to create it. So if you don't know, I study Ifa, which is a West African religion, one of the first West African religions. And India is part of how I got there. So between 19 and 20, I found out that I had West African ancestry. And I think that my trip to India and also the movie Coco, I'll explain, started me in trying to learn like what were the ancient religions that felt closer to me, because I never really felt closely connected to Christian religion. Like it didn't make sense to me. And then I went to Catholic school and they said Jesus was white, and I was just like, no. And so learning about all of the different religions that are in India, and then going to Shimla and just seeing the beauty of just like mountains as far as you could possibly see, just full of green grass and flowers. Like I just decided like, oh, there has to be something bigger than me, because I didn't feel like I deserved to be there or be seeing any of that. But I was like, somebody, somewhere, something does feel like I deserve to have this beautiful experience, and I deserve to be here, and I deserve to have joy. And even though I'm depressed and sad and I don't feel like worth anything at this point, I deserve to see something beautiful. And so that was kind of my experience in Shimla. Like, oh, you will see some gorgeous, just the views in Shimla are so beautiful. it just made me so grateful and thankful and really not take the trip for granted. I feel like that was when like my brain opened up. And maybe it was just because we was real close to the ancestors, you know, like we were at the bottom of the Himalayas, so some of the highest peaks in the world. And so yeah, that was really, really cool. And then I told y'all Jaipur was lit. We went to the club. I also just love Jaipur. One of my friends that I still talk to this day is from Jaipur. She is also a Virgo. Her birthday is September 7th, and she just got married and had a baby, and we follow each other on Instagram. So it's really hard because I was off social media for that whole year when I went. And so that's why a lot of my pictures are shitty and like they aren't up anywhere because I wasn't on social media. And I feel like I lost contact with a bunch of people that like I love dearly, but I just wasn't on social media. And yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, another interesting thing that happened was my roommate, who I talked about in the first stop in Delhi, she told me that she wanted to room with another girl because they were sharing shampoo. Stay with me. And her roommate wanted to switch with me because, you know, of the shampoo. And what it felt like as the only black girl was that they wanted the two outcasts to be together. So my new roommate was a thicker white woman. And I don't know if you know, but a lot of times white women that are shaped like this be the outcasts amongst other white women. And so that's what it felt like. Like it felt like let's put the two loud, rowdy, outcast people together. That's what it felt like to me. Which also just played into like the whole self-esteem plummeting thing that I was talking to you guys about. Oh yeah, on the religion note, sorry. I'm kind of all over the place. I told y'all I'm tired. Coco had to do with it because Coco was putting his family's pictures on the ofrenda. And I was like, what? I need an ofrenda. How do I get an ofrenda? And then I started looking it up. And then I realized that, like, you know, a lot of religions have their own version of an ofrenda, blah, blah, blah. And then India also made me want to learn about West African religion. Because I'm like, if there's all of these Indian gods and goddesses, there must be African ones. And so, yeah. Is that it? I told her about my crush. I told y'all about the Black experience. Told y'all how we started depressed. We ended less depressed. You know, I learned a lot, ate a lot of good food. Butter chicken is my favorite thing. I felt so basic when I got back to the United States and realized butter chicken is every American's favorite thing. They kept trying to order the food less spicy. Or like the chefs would try to make it less spicy because they saw white people, and I would tell them, no, don't do that. And then my Indian friends would try to get me to eat spicy things to see if it affected me. So that was fun. I chugged some like spicy chutney at some point. My ears started ringing, but I had to be tough. If you're one of my friends in India, I love you. Comment below so we can reconnect. I feel like that's all the like emotional tea, whatever. And I may remember something in the process of editing this, but I wanted the trip part and the mental part to be separate just because they were two very separate things. Like, some people, when I tell them I went to India, I just give them the first part. Some people, when I tell them I went to India, I give them both parts. Some people, I just tell them the emotional part. But it was a beautiful trip. I would go back. I would do it all over again. I loved it. I loved learning about the culture. I loved meeting my friends. I loved the joy and the spirituality that I was able to gain. My first time out of the country. And also, it was very, very difficult to be the only Black girl. And only I will ever know and understand that specifically from that trip because I was the only black girl. And I say that because who knows, maybe the other girls will see this one day. And it's no shade. It's just I was the only black one, and so y'all will literally never be able to understand what my experience was. And it was difficult at times. Just feeling very lonely and being in a country 15 hours away from my home country by plane. And so, yeah, I enjoy reflecting on that with you all. I love you. And drop any questions in the comments. If y'all want to do a Q&A, I will do one. But yeah, that's all I got. I need to rest because whew, I love you. I hope you're having a lovely, marvelous, and spectacular day because the only things that matter is me, you, the arts, and the fact that there is a tyrant predator in office. And it's so dangerous to be outside right now as a woman, as a black person, as anyone that looks like they could maybe not be a citizen potentially. So look out for your community, guys. Hug your friends. Check on your people. Mwah.